guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host Indira, and today I'm joined by Olivia Mathias. She's a professional triathlete who's competed at 2 Commonwealth Games and a range of World and European Championships. She's an absolute top-tier athlete, and in this episode, she walks us through what it's like, the training, the highs, the lows, and everything that comes along with it. Okay, but before we get into the episode, please be sure to give it a rating if you've been enjoying the show. This really helps me to keep bringing you guys great guests. And make sure to stick around for the listener questions at the end. Thanks so much to everyone who sent in their questions, and we have hopefully covered them all. Okay, let's get into the episode. Okay, Liv, hi, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just, end of term, wrapping up, getting ready for Christmas. Have you got many plans for Christmas?
So going home for Christmas. I'll spend probably a week at home, which is quite nice just to see my friends and family and have Christmas Day with them and sort of kind of relax for a bit of a week before we get back into training next year.
Yeah, I can imagine. Does that mean Christmas is like a bit of a training break for you, or how do things work?
Well, this year it's kind of fallen quite nicely that I'll probably have a few easy days over the Christmas period. My club from home do a bit of a Boxing Day handicap, so I'll probably do that as a bit of a session just to tick over. And one of my close friends, Ellie, is actually from home and she does triathlon as well, so it's quite nice to kind of go for rides with her, and it kind of feels more social than training. So yeah, I definitely say the week over Christmas is a bit more relaxed and that time to kind of catch up with friends and family and ready to reset the new year.
Yeah, definitely. No, that all sounds good. And if we just kick off with a couple of typical intro questions. So can you briefly introduce yourself as an athlete?
Okay. Hi. I'm Olivia Mathias. I am a British triathlete. I've done triathlon since I was maybe 12, maybe younger. I'm not sure, it's been so long. I studied at Loughborough University, got my degree, and I've just kind of stayed here ever since training with the Loughborough Talent Squad. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, if there's no reason to leave, then, why leave? And what would you say is your biggest lesson learned through sport so far?
Oh, biggest lesson. Wow. Probably one of my friends told me one time that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that's quite a nice quote to kind of take into everything, really. I think you can do something and feel very proud of it and sort of see maybe what someone else has done, and then you think, oh, it's perhaps not quite as good as I thought. But I think to remember that, and that's quite a nice quote to sort of live life by.
Yeah, definitely it is. It's the thing that it's required for sport and performance and success. I guess it's measured in that way, but in terms of personal, satisfaction and stuff, it definitely is key to keep those things separated. And what's your next biggest goal or thing that you're hoping to achieve?
So we obviously have the Olympic Games next year. I think especially for the girls in Britain, it's very competitive to make that team. And I think, there's opportunity for everyone to make it. I guess kind of never say never with that. I know I'm on a bit of a back foot compared to some other girls for it. I think all you can do is kind of focus on yourself, and if it's meant to be, it will be kind of thing. Apart from that, I guess just racing the World Series next year, a few World Cups. And then, hopefully we get a commies. Currently we don't have one, but that would be the next big games, I guess.
Never say never. And what's the situation with the Commonwealth Games then?
It was supposed to be held by Brisbane, but they pulled out, so there's currently not a location for a Commonwealth Games, which is really sad, but I hope somebody comes through. Hopefully we can have a home Commonwealth Games.
That would be cool. It's not the kind of thing you can whack on a Zoom meeting, unfortunately. So I guess it's not going to deal well with that. And what's the number one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
I guess to just kind of keep believing. I was never the top triathlete when I was younger. We have something called IRCs, which is kind of, well, when you're younger, feels like the be all and end all in triathlon. It's sort of the one race of the year where you race all the other athletes your age in the country, and I think I never actually even managed to make that team until my last year of doing it. So I think to just, maybe just believe and just always have fun.
Yeah, definitely, always have fun. Remember that one, guys. And finally, what topics do you feel most strongly about within sport at the moment?
I think involving younger children into the sport. British Triathlon have a kind of new programme which I'm involved in. I think I'm allowed to say that. And just about inspiring more children, not just into triathlon, but just making them active. And I think it's really important that more children have the opportunity to get into sports, especially more underprivileged areas and places where resources aren't as accessible. I think if I can help get 5 children into sport, then I feel like I've kind of done a good job in sport, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 500% increase on you as an individual, so it's a pretty big number, I'd say. No, but that's really great to hear, and definitely such a key area. And in that respect, what led you to triathlon and how did you get involved with it?
So I used to swim just to learn to swim to go on holiday, really, and then joined a swimming club from there. And my mum used to run, so I joined Newark Athletics Club with her and just kind of did that. And we saw an advertisement for a local triathlon at Clifton, and I just went and did that on a mountain bike, and I ended up winning the race. And it kind of just spiraled from there. I joined a club, and then the East Mid Academy, and then the national squad, and then just kind of that was kind of the starting point for me. And it's quite strange because my friend Ellie that I was saying about before, her first triathlon was actually exactly the same day as me, and became first and second in the race, which is quite a nice story. And Soph Caldwell, weirdly, probably 3 years prior to this, it was also how she got into triathlon, and it was the first triathlon she did. So Clifton has a good track record, I guess, for getting people into triathlon, which is kind of crazy that such a small local triathlon has kind of created sort of jobs for 2 people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, get yourself down to Clifton if you want to become a pro triathlete, guys. No, but definitely that goes back to what you were saying earlier about providing those opportunities and giving people the chances to engage with these, especially at a younger age. And so I guess growing up then with triathlon featuring, I guess, with increasing importance in your life, what was that journey like? And, were you swimming twice a day at 5 a.m. or was it, how was it balanced? What was the situation like?
It was quite chaotic. I'm not sure if you put me back into that I could do it now, if I'm honest. And for my mum and dad as well, like, I don't know how they functioned either, really. Like, I'm from Fenton, which is a very small village, and nothing's really close to it. So, I mean, the Tuesday to Wednesday was kind of the most chaotic for us. Like, we'd be up at 4:30 on Tuesday. My mum would drive me to Retford, which was about 50-minute drive. I'd swim for 90 minutes, and then we'd have to chase the bus basically back to Newark. I'd get on the bus at Newark, and one of my friends from school, Molly Pickering, would actually hold the bus for me sometimes if we were late, kind of just distract the bus driver so that I can get on. And I then went to school in Grantham, which was another 50-minute bus journey from there. And then my mum would then pick me up from school, drive me over to Loughborough, which was about 90 minutes. I'd session with Bill's group, in Loughborough, and then we drive to West Bridgeford, which is about half an hour, stay with my grandma overnight, and then get up at 4:30 and swim again, and kind of just repeat that process, I guess. So yeah, it was a lot of travel. One of the main reasons I came to Loughborough was because everything's so close, and the furthest I have to drive for a session is 5 minutes here, so I think that was, I was sick of sitting in a car.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that is crazy, and that's so much at a young age and so much travel time, like you said. Do you feel like that impacted you, or how do you feel like that impacted you kind of growing up and through that teenage period?
Yeah, well, I think I loved it, and I did it because I wanted to do it, not because anybody else told me I had to do it. I don't think you can do that if you don't love it. And I think I was very lucky with the group of friends that I had at school that really understood and supported me through it all, and were never angry or judgmental if I couldn't make a social occasion, and would always try to plan things around so I could also make it. And I think still to this day, like I still socialise with my friendship group from school, and everyone does crazy things in their life. Like one of them's a Disney princess in Hong Kong, which is just crazy. But I think having supportive friends that kind of understand it as well and kind of see it as your job also helps. My school was also really supportive of everything and helped me where I could, and there was the odd teacher that kind of went above and beyond to help. And I guess without them people and all the support you have around that and the clubs and stuff, like you really wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned job there, so I suppose at what point did it start to become quite serious, or was there a point where you thought, I want to take this further, I want this to be my future career? I guess I kind of always said that I never wanted a real job. I always wanted to do triathlon, and I don't really know at what point I kind of thought that it was going to really happen. I think I was choosing a university more so for where to train rather than the course, and I'm not advising that to other people. I think it's important to also have an education because it can go wrong sometimes, and that's important to fall back on. And for me, I think going somewhere for triathlon was the number one priority, and obviously Loughborough's a very good university as well, so we're lucky with that. And I think at that point when I kind of left school and came to uni, and my priority was triathlon, and then once I finished my degree, I was kind of it was my job at that point, and I kind of just went into being a professional athlete then. Yeah, definitely. And where's that switch point? At what point do you, I guess, become an officially or a professional triathlete?
I think it's different for different people, and everyone's perception and maybe definition of a professional athlete is slightly different. And I think everybody does it differently. Some people have part-time jobs with it, some people do it full-time. So I think it's kind of sort of on you and how you sort of look at it. I guess for me, my kind of idea is that it's sort of my income now, and it's how I earn money and sort of earn enough money to kind of live off, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. But then also, like, saying it's your job, I guess I still feel like I don't really have a job because it's just what I do and what I love. So then it kind of makes it an easy job, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like the ideal job. And the first time I met you, I asked, what course do you do? And you're like, oh no, I'm just kind of in Loughborough, just a triathlete. So I was like, so you're a professional athlete. And very modest with it. And so I guess if we fast forward a little bit, you've had many years of kind of success right at the top of triathlon. Can you walk us through, say, your past year, your past 6 months in terms of racing? I mean, you had some incredible achievements, 12th at the Euros, 32nd at the World Champs. I know you're not so happy with some of these necessarily. We can get into that a bit later on. And then a 5th at the Super League Triathlon Series as well in October. So, yeah, can you take us on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a difficult year for me. I kind of started the season off, well, I raced the European Champs and they changed the course without us knowing. And on the first lap of the bike, nobody knew which way to go because they changed it around a water fountain and everyone kind of had to slam on and go left round it rather than right round it, which is what we were told we were doing. And yeah, I just unfortunately came down on that corner and later on found out that I tore my hamstring. So yeah, it kind of changed the season for me. I didn't really race as much as I'd like to, and towards the end of the season I was racing perhaps not fit. And yeah, it was hard to stand on a start line knowing that you're not fit. That was kind of something new that I've never really experienced before and had to kind of get my head round. But yeah, I think you just have to kind of focus on less of the process outcomes rather than the position outcomes. I think I definitely learned this year that that's also important. And although I think I've had a very bad year, there are parts of it that were still good. And like, I led out the grand final swim, and I guess if you just told me that at the start of the year, I probably wouldn't have believed you that I did that. And I look at the result and I came 32nd, which isn't something I'm proud of. But then when you look at the process and the year, I guess you kind of have to look at it more as, yeah, process goals than outcome goals, really.
Yeah, definitely. There's always a backstory, and it's easy to just see a result at face value, but there's so much more behind it and so much more meaning as well. And you mentioned there this being a fairly new experience. So is this your first, say, major injury or major setback?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's my second, but my first one, I had a non-union stress fracture in my shin, which meant that it never actually fully heals. It kind of, both ends of the fracture heal. I know they can't see me because it's a podcast, but like this. So both ends heal rather than it healing together. So I have a hairline fracture there now for life. But I actually had that and went through the process of being in a boot during 2020 lockdown. So I didn't experience the loss of racing through injury. So yeah, this was the first time that my season's been disrupted by an injury.
Okay, that's so tough to deal with. And just to fill you in there with the hand action, it was kind of putting together your knuckles in a clenched fist and kind of how they fit in between each other. That was the example. And I guess, yeah, so in terms of, say, the hairline fracture, does that still impact you in your training, and if you had to make amendments because of that?
So touch wood, not anymore. I was kind of dealing with it for quite a long time prior to it, maybe like 2 or 3 years, because it didn't come up on MRIs. So yeah, it was a long process to find out what it was, and a very weird situation, because when I actually found out what it was via an X-ray, it kind of had already healed. But so I thought, I mean, I don't advise this at all, but I kind of ran through a stress fracture basically, and it healed itself, but it still required me to then go into the boot and do the normal process of recovery from a stress fracture. But yeah, like, don't know how it happened or anything like that, which kind of makes it more difficult because, like, it's hard to know why and what to change. But yeah, I was very lucky that I had a good team around me that kind of supported me through that. And yeah, I just have to be careful now with like loading on the run. So during off season, some people will just have, like Alex will have 2 weeks completely off everything, whereas I would have 2 weeks where I ran 15 minutes every other day, just to keep that sort of load in, that because it's the change in loads that kind of spikes it a bit. But yeah, apart from that, it doesn't bother me.
No, that's really good to hear. And I guess there with the hamstring situation, you know, coming off your bike, that sounds pretty horrific. Is it, you know, how did that affect you mentally, and then what was the recovery process like?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of frustration. I kind of felt that I know I was the one that crashed, but it sort of kind of wasn't in my control, and could have been prevented. And it is something that a lot of triathletes feedback, that we don't get a great view at courses before we race. So prior to a race, the day before or 2 days before, we'll have a recce where quite often we get to do 1 or 2 laps of this bike course. I mean, you see F1 drivers, and the amount of times they've gone around the course before they race is crazy. They have practice 1, practice 2, qualifying, the race. They've gone over the course so many times before they've even got to the venue, and we kind of get 1 or 2 laps. Like, it's not enough to see the course before, especially when the course is then changed to what it is on the recce's. So it's definitely something that everyone has to deal with, and everyone's in the same situation. But I think when the course is different on the recce to the race day, it's very frustrating because people don't know where they're going and accidents happen. And for some people, it changes their year. Like it happened in the boys' race, and Ben Dykstra, who we also train with, broke his wrist, and we were both, for the rest of our years, we're both then impacted by that. So I think it was more frustration really than anything. And then I guess it was hard to kind of deal with having to pull out of races and change it a lot. Yeah, definitely. Is there any particular race that you had to pull out of that you were especially disappointed with? I had to pull out of the European Games, which is really upsetting, and also Paris test event, had to pull out of that, and this was something else, but I also had to pull out of the Sunderland relay. I don't know if you saw the water quality drama.
Oh yes.
But I was one of the victims.
Oh gosh.
Of the next day, I was very ill, but
gosh, the whole open water swimming side of things, I have to say, it definitely puts me off triathlon. Does that sort of thing happen a lot, or, you know, is the quality of water normally quite good?
Honestly, until this year, we've never really had a problem. I think with the changing world and stuff, it is becoming more and more of a problem, and water quality is unfortunately getting worse. And I guess until this year we haven't really had to deal with this, but now it is something that is part of our sport, and you know, we either swim in it and we get ill, or it gets changed to duathlon. Either one isn't ideal, but I guess it's something that is kind of new to the sport as well.
Is duathlon then where you've got the pool and respectively cycling or either running?
No, the swim gets replaced by a run. So you'd go run, bike, run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in Madrid, the European Champs, the race that I crashed in, that the water quality was too bad and got cancelled that morning. So then it got changed to a duathlon. So we were on the bikes, and that's when I crashed, and then you run after as well. So it basically completely changes the sport. Like, it's not a triathlon anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, some people think that there should kind of be what's the word when they have like plan B?
Oh yes, a contingency.
Yes,
plan
contingency plan, where, you know, the night before, if it's going to get changed to duathlon, everyone gets in the pool and races an 800 metre time trial, and then you get set off based off that. Like, I just think something. There's got to be, especially if it's something is going to be more and more common. Like, we either 100% make sure the water's clean, which is very hard, or there needs to be contingency plans because the duathlon just isn't a triathlon. Like, you're taking out one of the sports and the race is just completely different then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, either you need a huge amount of water disclosure tablets, or do you think that there could be a scope for having it as kind of a pool swim and then a break and then the run and bike, or do you think they could construct some sort of larger or circular water, I don't know, swimming pool that you can go round in first and then come out?
I mean, I don't know, but I think there has to be a better option than turning it into a duathlon. I think, I mean, ideally we'd all love to race triathlons all the time. But I think if it does have to be changed, there should be some kind of contingency plan, I guess. But I also understand that that's very hard to organise at last minute, and
Mind you, I mean, when you've been training for one thing and then to find out only on the morning that you're doing a completely different set of sports, I mean, that really does change the game and the nature of it. And I'd suppose that between athletes there's probably a lot of variation in terms of where people's strengths lie, and
definitely.
For you, how do you manage that, and where are your strengths across the three disciplines?
Well, for me, swimming is one of mine, so when it gets changed to a duathlon, it's not ideal. And it really does completely change the race. Like, the people that you think you're going to be at the front of the race with just completely changes. Like, you could go into a race like, I know for Madrid in particular, like, a few of us British girls, strong swimmers, so we thought that we'd be in a breakaway of 5, 6, 7 athletes onto a hard bike course, but it just completely changes it. And people that are weaker at swimming are in the front pack now because of the duathlon, and it definitely really changes the race. And like, it also kind of changes the value of the results then, because although it was still like, when you looked at the results, it said European Triathlon Champs. So for everyone looking, it says European Triathlon Champs. I was 12, but it was a duathlon, which I guess you didn't even know from looking at the results. So, like, it's almost weird that it still gets caught, like, the European champ is still the European Triathlon champ, because, I mean, I'm not taking it away from the guys that won that race, but it's almost like it's not a triathlon. I think, I mean, no one loves it to be a duathlon. It's a weird one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my opinion, if you didn't race a triathlon, you've got to be a duathlon champ, not a triathlon champ. And I guess, you mentioned there as well, it being different people at the front of the pack and stuff. Does that significantly impact the race in terms of order that people might end up in, or where you end up starting the run or the run or the bike respectively?
Yeah, definitely. I think a duathlon just completely changes it. And, I mean, you can't say for sure, but I imagine that the results in Madrid would have been completely different had it been a triathlon. And that's probably fair to say with a lot of races that get changed to duathlons. It's obviously nobody's fault that races, because it's not in our control, and when it gets changed to a duathlon, everyone's in the same situation. Everyone just tries to race as well as they can still. It definitely changes the results.
Yeah. And how do you pace yourself in terms of a triathlon? Do you go max out on the swim, max out on the bike, max out on the run, or do you kind of hold back on the swim to prepare for the bike and the run? What's your general game plan?
So I think that's one of the most interesting things about triathlon. Everyone is different. Everyone has different strengths. Everyone will swim the swim differently. I personally swim the first 200 metres as hard as I can, to kind of get that clear water into the front, and then from there kind of settle into it a bit. Whereas, you speak to other people that say they would never go flat out for the first 200 metres, otherwise they'd be completely in the red zone and wouldn't be able to get back. So I think it depends on your strengths, and for me, I like a hard swim and bike. I like to, attack from the front and try and kind of rip the race apart a bit, and ideally I'd like to be with as little people as possible at the end of the bike. I think I like a hard like fought triathlon through all three disciplines, and not just kind of a roll around on the bike and then a run race. I think I like to kind of attack it from the front and kind of see what I have left on the run.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of kind of the times, typically what sort of time do you tend to do the swimming, the run and the bike?
Oh gosh, I actually have no idea, So we race sprint and Olympic. So sprint is 750 swim, 20k bike, 5k run, and the Olympic is 1500 swim, 40k bike, 10k run. And honestly, I'm not sure I could tell you the exact times we do them in, because it's kind of not like running where a 5k on a track's a 5k on a track. It's almost like a 5k in Lausanne World Champs, which is where it's really hilly, compared to a 5k in where's flat?
Monaco?
Yeah, somewhere flat. It's completely different. So there's a lot of variety in courses, and it's not always exactly 5k like it tries to be, but yeah, we don't really, I guess, focus on time as much in triathlon.
That's quite nice though, I guess, because then there's more purity of the actual race itself.
Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of has sort of swings and roundabouts, because I think sometimes when I see athletes like going to get a time, I think then you could enter a race and, I don't know, it doesn't matter where you finish, but you've run a quick time. Whereas for us, everything's on the position, if that kind of makes sense.
Definitely.
But I guess it's nice in terms of we don't have to get hung up on times and making times, and it's all on position. But yeah, I do think sometimes that it puts more pressure on the position, because the time is irrelevant kind of thing. It's all on where you finish. Yeah,
I guess. And would you say then that the rivalry between competitors can be quite strong then, if it's so, place focused? I mean, everything is place focused, but it being always focused on position as opposed to, say, maybe time or other areas.
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone kind of is competitive on the race course, but triathlon is a very nice community outside of that as well, and I have a lot of friends from different nations, and it's nice to go to races and be able to chat and like catch up with people beforehand, and then on race day you race, and straight after you race, like, it's done kind of thing. I think it's nice that there is that kind of community.
Yeah, definitely. And have you ever competed at one of the disciplines in themselves, or have you always kind of done triathlon throughout?
Yeah, definitely. Like, from a young age I raced cross country, inter-counties, national cross, Midlands, and some 5k races, and county champs, Midland champs swimming. I guess I don't do as much now. I might race, I might come out of cross country retirement and race my county champs in January maybe. But yeah, I mean, I haven't raced. I think the last cross country I did was national cross when I was under 20 maybe. But yeah, definitely. It's nice to mix it up over the winter and race. And we do bike races as well, actually, crits and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. No, nice. No, definitely. And so now if we move more to the training side of things, can you walk us through a typical week of training?
Yeah. So we kind of do about, I'd say, 25-ish hours a week. Yeah, a bit crazy. We'll swim 5 or 6 times. The longest is like 90 minutes, or hour 45, and we do maybe in that hour 45 like 6.5k in that one. So we do that Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, which is a killer. Like, no one wants to be in a pool on Sunday afternoon. No one. And then run kind of changes for different people, but I tend to run 4 times a week, just started to run 5. So it's track on a Tuesday, like a 15-minute run on a Thursday with some drills. We do like a tempo round Beacon, which is hilly, on a Friday. And then Sunday long run is probably like 80 to 90 minutes around the hills as well. And then probably ride anywhere between 11 to 13 hours. So we spend a lot of time in the saddle. And then gym twice a week. So it's quite busy.
Well, it sounds a little bit empty, to be honest. No, wow, no, that's so much. So I guess if we start with, in terms of getting high quality sessions in, how do you distribute kind of where you put the hard sessions, the easy sessions between the different sports, and also just balancing it out so that you've got enough time to recover and still reap the benefits from those hard sessions?
Yeah, so we I'm trying to think. I don't think we ever do like two really hard sessions on a day. We can, so Monday is like our hard bike session, and then everything around that would be easier. Tuesday is track, so that's the hardest session on a Tuesday, and the swim in the morning isn't as hard, it's more like speed stuff. Wednesday is more of a long aerobic day, so we do the 6.5k swim, like 3-hour ride and gym on a Wednesday. And then Thursday is like our key swim day, so we don't do anything hard around that. And then Friday is key run day, Saturday aerobic day, Sunday key swim day. So we tend not to do more than one like key session a day, if that kind of makes sense, to sort of give time between, I guess.
Yeah, must be experts in a pretty speedy recovery. And I guess, on that note, what do you do to sort of recover between sessions?
I think it's just important to get recovery in straight away. Like, we have OTE products, which I love, and I'm supported by them. So, recovery powder, out on the bike, make sure you have carb in your water bottle, carb drink in your water bottle, because it's hard to get enough calories in riding. Like the gyro bars and stuff like that, just making sure you eat enough during and post and quick enough after. And I think then just like trying to put your feet up in between, really. Watch some rubbish TV. My newest favourite is Help, I'm in a Secret Relationship. It's mental.
That sounds good. Yeah. That sounds
MTV. Good. It's like a spin-off of Catfish. Love it. Great.
Oh, nice. No, you've got to have those things in your life. Yeah. They're called rubbish, but the truth is we all know they're not rubbish. Just no one wants to admit that.
Exactly. Guilty pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man. And so I guess as well, if you were training for one sport, say just cycling, swimming or running, would you still be able to do the same style or same shape of training in terms of the same number of sessions, hard and easy, or do you think that it would be quite different?
As in, like, if I was just a runner? Or...
Yeah, do you think you'd be doing 25 hours of run training? Or...
Oh, no, probably not. I mean, I'm no expert being a full-time runner, or... but, yeah, I mean, the swimmers are quite mental. They're in the pool twice a day, every day, so... Oh. I can imagine they do a lot of hours as well. And I guess riding, you'd probably ride more than 13 hours a week. You'd probably ride 20 to 25, I reckon riders do. I think it would be very different, but I think personally for me, if I was just competing in a single sport, I'd still have to cross train. I don't think I could just do one sport, especially not swimming.
No, yeah, I get you there.
It's the worst one.
It is. It's the time, I feel like, you've got to get changed again, wet hair.
And you can't chat.
Yeah.
Like, you go in for an easy swim, you can't just chat. Like, you go for an easy run, you just chat for half an hour or whatever. But you can't... Like, in swimming, it's very unsociable during the swim. Like, obviously you can chat in the showers a bit after and stuff, but I think that's why swimming is sort of the hardest one, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And at the early starts, are you sort of a 4-ish?
Oh no,
No?
Oh, I've retired from that.
Okay, that's good. Some benefits.
Yeah, no, our earliest is 6:15.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that's
okay.
not too bad. Yeah. So you swim at 7 and 7:30, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, manageable.
Yeah, way more manageable.
And what, I mean, you mentioned there swimming being the most maybe boring or less social sport, and I definitely agree with you there in that respect. What do you sort of think about, or what motivates you through those sessions?
I think the most important thing is going with a group. I think being by yourself makes it way harder. So definitely being with a group, because it holds you accountable to get there for a certain time. You do the session with them, you have people to swim next to. Like, we're very lucky that we have a nice group of, like, Soph and I are very close to the boys and stuff. We do a lot with them, and yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. Like, it's so hard to do everything by yourself. I mean, I know it works for some people, but I think for me, yeah, that's the thing that kind of gets you through the tougher sessions, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of, say, a hard bike session, hard run session, hard swim session, what order would you put them in terms of preference?
Oh, I reckon I prefer bike sessions. That's my favourite, probably. I love a Friday tempo around Beacon.
Ooh.
I think track is the worst, personally.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll agree
Alex would
with you.
disagree. He would say that that's his favourite, but nah, not a fan. And then swims depends on the mood. Sometimes if you feel good, it's great. If you feel bad, it's really bad. So yeah.
Yeah. In what way is swimming extra bad if you're feeling bad?
Oh, it's just like, I don't know. It's just bad. Like, I feel like you have a bad day in the water and you just feel like you're swimming in like custard.
Yeah.
Like, you're not moving anywhere.
That's
You're
so
trying
true.
so hard. The harder you try, the slower you go.
Yeah.
Like, one of them days is just not fun.
It is true, actually. It's sort of, like trying to drag a lead block through the water.
Yes.
I'm not drowning. You're like, oh God, still going.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, and do you have a favourite session then?
Oh, my favourite session. I think my favourite thing of the week is a Sunday long run. I think it's so nice that, like, we kind of go out, like, Soph and Tom bring their dog Rocco, and Ali and Jordan, who are runners and who we've known for a long time, we go out with them, and yeah, it's just a nice social run, and I feel like you get to the end of it and you're like, oh my goodness, we've done 80 minutes, like, it's gone so fast. I think that's probably one of my favourite things of the week.
Yeah, definitely. No, that sounds nice. And I was just about to say, is there sort of a post-Sunday long run kind of ritual, or is it straight to that dreaded swim session?
Well, yeah, unfortunately we have to go to the swim session. But I have to say, sometimes when the boys come, we do get a Greggs. We live very close to Greggs, unfortunately. So, yeah.
It's got to be done.
That's the ritual.
You got a favourite thing from Greggs?
Oh, I'm a bacon roll.
Can't go wrong.
Classic.
Yeah. And in terms of the bike sessions then, I'm assuming that they're done outside, or do you train in the gym on, say, what bikes as well?
No, outside. We'd go on the turbo if it was really awful weather, so like during the winter, if it's icy, so it's unsafe, or if it's raining and it's cold, then we tend to go on the turbos. And yeah, I mean, it's not my favourite thing to do. I'd rather be outside. So we do try to be outside as much as possible, but yeah, sometimes weather dependent, it's on a turbo, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, different variables can't put your life at risk, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of our listeners do kind of look to do sort of cross training, but maybe don't necessarily have loads of knowledge around, especially, say, the bike and the swim. So have you got a top session or a session that you quite like that you'd be able to share for both swimming and cycling?
So I think with riding, I guess more of it would be indoors, I guess, for cross training. I think Zwift is extremely good for that. I think you can go on there and there's so many different sessions, there's so many different people. You can join races, different levels, ABC, like all different kind of watts per kilo, whatever you're aiming to do. And I think to keep it interesting, like that probably is one of the best ways for indoor on the bike. And I think swimming, find a friend if you go with a friend, or like we're very lucky enough that there's lots of AU squads that you can go to. But yeah, I think maybe find a friend. Make sure you kind of have a session before you go. Something as simple as 500, 400, 300, 200, 100. Yeah. You could do that. Do a few like swim drills, bit of kick, like a bit of pull. Mix it up a bit. I think instead of just going to the pool and thinking I'm just going to swim for half an hour, I think that's where it becomes quite mentally draining, because you're just going up and down for half an hour. I think if you go with a bit of a plan, like, right, I'm going to do 400 freestyle, I'm going to do 300 as 50 free, 50 back, 200 pull, 100 IM, and then a few drills, and then 4 or 5 200s as pull and paddles or something like that, just to mix it up. I think definitely makes it go a lot faster than just swimming up and down.
It's going side to side might not be popular with the other swimmers.
No.
Best avoid that one. Okay, and so if we turn now to maybe more of the kind of lifestyle of a professional athlete, starting with, for you live with another professional athlete, you're in a relationship with another professional athlete, you're training 25 hours a week for a sport, your life's, very triathlon focused. Where do you feel that your sense of kind of identity lies within the mix of it all?
Yeah, I think, like Alex and I both do triathlon, and we've both kind of done it together for a very long time. And I think when we were first together, we weren't professional triathletes. And I think we have a very good balance of, we're not triathletes to each other. We're just, friend, he was just my best friend, and that's kind of why we got together, not because we were triathletes. And I think at home, we obviously say how was the session, was it all right, and you go through the ups and downs of racing and injury and illness, so you obviously go through that together. But I think we don't talk about triathlon at home that much. I think it's part of our lives, but also there's also way more to life than just that. And I think it's important to remember that. And people that have jobs, they kind of go home and the job's over, and they're at home for the evening. I think that's the same for us. And we tend to, in our house, we have everything on the bottom floor that's triathlon related. So you go upstairs and, it's just your home. And I think we're very lucky that our friends and family as well just see you as people. And, obviously they ask how it's going, whatever, but that's kind of secondary to us as people and what we do and stuff. So I think that's nice. And yeah, I guess you kind of come a bit immune to the fact that you're around professional athletes. I think, Soph and Tom are our best friends, and I get Tom's an ultra runner and Soph's a professional triathlete as well, but they're our friends, they're not, do you know what I mean? There's I think, I guess it's also hard, you have to kind of remember that also when people come into the environment, because it's a bit weird for them, I guess with Alex or whatever, I've been asked a few times what is it like to live with an Olympic medalist, and you're kind of I don't really know how to answer that, because he's just a normal person, he has Pokemon cards, do you know what I mean, I kind of think what do you mean, what is it like? He's just a normal person. So yeah, I think we have a good balance of triathlon and life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I especially like that thing with the house situation. That's very neat. And yeah, definitely people first and athletes second. And do you think that it was helpful for you in kind of maintaining that balance and being able to establish those boundaries that you guys met before you both became professionals?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like, we obviously both did triathlon when we met, and like that's why we met. But yeah, I guess we've kind of just like grown through the sport together and kind of gone through the whole journey together. And yeah, it's like, to be fair, when I do think about it, I like when you really think about it and kind of what we've achieved together, and you know what Alex achieved in Tokyo, like when you sit down and think about it, it does seem really weird that he did that. But you obviously don't go through every day thinking that. It's only when you kind of think about it that you're like, yeah, it's actually pretty mad that when, you know, like 10 years ago when we first met, we were kind of watching, you know, like Stanford and Helen Jenkins and the Brownies, and like now we're kind of racing that together. I think it is a bit weird to think that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, have I set you thinking now? Yeah. Philosophical questions coming in. And you know, I guess as well in that note, what would you say have been kind of the best things about being a professional triathlete, but also maybe the greatest challenges in terms of just kind of that, you know, regular life athlete balance?
Yeah, I think the best thing is that, I mean, every day you get to do what you love with your best friends. Like, Sophie's my training partner, but she's also my best friend. Like, I was her bridesmaid. Like, I think you take for granted how lucky you are, and I think we really do appreciate like what it means to be able to do that every day. And I know not everybody can do that and do it with such good friends. So I think, yeah, that's pretty cool. But it does come with a lot of lows for everybody. It's hard to see your friends going through lows. For yourself, it's hard. Yes, it's hard to navigate them low times, but I think the high times really outweigh the low times, and kind of have to remember that sometimes when you're going through it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can't have the high highs without the low lows.
Exactly.
But as long as the highs are winning overall, it's
yeah.
Okay. And I guess if we move on to maybe some more female specific areas. So in terms of triathlon, I mean, Triathlon USA claim that there's a 2-to-1 ratio males to females in the sport. So I guess that could indicate that maybe there's more barriers or challenges for female participation. Firstly, do you agree with that? And secondly, have you experienced any challenges that you think might be just because of being female?
Was that stat in triathlon or just in sport?
Apparently triathlon.
In triathlon. Wow. Yeah, I think triathlon is a very unique sport that, you know, it has been like men and women have always competed. As soon as it went into the Olympics, both genders competed. I think we have equal pay in the World Series, the World Cups. I think it's been like that from the start. Don't quote me, but I think it has. We've always done the same distance. You know, like the sprint and Olympic, we both do the same course, the same distance. You know, I can't really remember a race that's held just a men's race and not a female race. So I do think that we're quite lucky in that sense. But then I don't know all the ins and outs of, you know, sponsorship and, you know, the number one female versus the number one male. I don't know if they're paid the same by sponsors, and I'm not sure about that, but they are from prize money point of view. Everyone gets the same prize money. So I personally have never felt disadvantaged through being a female in triathlon. I think it is slightly male dominant in terms of support staff and coaching. Potentially. I don't think we have as many female coaching, but then I guess that comes into the coaching side of it rather than the athlete side of it. But yeah, as an athlete, I don't think that there's a difference. Yeah, I guess the 2-to-1 thing might be in America. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, that's really interesting to hear. And I guess we've come to the end of our time. So we've got a couple of quite a few listener questions. Some of them we might have already covered a bit. But firstly, we've got, how do you prevent burnout in training when you have to juggle the 3 disciplines?
I think it's important to listen to your body. Like when you're tired, to go easy, don't keep pushing through. And I guess trust your coach, your program, and don't be afraid to just be like, you know what, I'm really tired, or this is going on in my personal life and I'm finding it quite difficult. Can we maybe, change things around? I think not being afraid to change things around, and also remembering that there is more to life than sport. I think if you keep that perspective and that good balance, then that can help to
No, definitely, really key stuff there. Definitely all about listening to your body. And then we've got average training week, which I think we've kind of covered that. Toughest mental element of triathlon.
Oh, that's a good one. I think sometimes the 4-hour rides in the rubbish British weather when it's a slog, I think that is the hardest. Sometimes you just think, what am I doing? I'm in the middle of nowhere on a bike, soaking wet, freezing cold. Like, what am I doing? I think them times are the times where you're like, we call it character building. Really.
It's all about the mindset, reframing those thoughts. I love that. Next bad session, guys, it's character building. There we go. Okay, and then we've got we've kind of covered that, I think. We've got, how did you meet Alex and how did you end up together?
We actually met on like a bit of an England talent camp, which was in Welbeck, which is literally about 10 minutes down the road from Loughborough, which is quite weird that we now ended up here. What was it? How we met and...
how did you end up together?
We were kind of best friends first for ages, and kind of maybe a bit in denial, and then eventually we just thought we were together.
Best way for things to happen. No, I love how it was a bit of a talent camp. Not quite, maybe just half of one. And then favourite ways to recover?
Watching the rubbish TV.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Made in Chelsea, bit of that, love that.
Make sure you got your TV stuff sorted. That's the takeaway. And then I guess semi-covered it, but still, if you maybe sum up in a few sentences, how to balance social time and training.
I guess, quite a lot of our very close friends, we're lucky that they're in triathlon, so the easy ones kind of feel like a social anyway. But I think, just not giving yourself too much to do. Picking times where you've got time to do it, I guess. Not doing crazy things. I think, you do kind of make sacrifices and you do have to miss things, but I think as long as you're okay with that and that's what you want to do, it's okay. And I think, people close to you will understand that. But I do think it is important to also have them down times, over Christmas, just relax, eat what you want, see friends. If you have to, pull half an hour off here and there, it's not the end of the world. And I think the more you stress about that, the worse it is for you. I think if you just stay relaxed, but it is important to have something other than triathlon.
Definitely all about balance. It's been great having you on. Thank you so much for sharing so much insight into your training and some tips and things you've learned along the way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
So
that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to rate, subscribe and leave a review. This really helps to get the content out there. And I want to make this podcast the best possible for you. So go follow Fitter, Faster, Happier on Instagram. That's Fitter, Faster, Happier to leave your questions, comments and feedback, and for updates and guest requests. All the best for the week ahead, guys. Run happy, live happy, be happy.